If you want to know why Amish women at 50 carry none of the belly bloat, the bone thinning, or the gray afternoon fatigue that so many American women the same age struggle with, do not look to the supplement aisle. Do not look to the exercise program. Look to a plain kitchen in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where 5 generations of women have been doing the same quiet things every single day. My name is Rebecca Yoder, and I am glad you found your way here. These quiet things could mean a great deal for the years ahead of you, and your physician has likely never mentioned them. That is not because anything is being hidden from you. It is because what I am going to share today does not come in a prescription bottle and was never written into a medical guideline. It was passed from mother to daughter in plain homes, at canning shelves and root cellars, over bread that rose slowly and soup that had been going since morning. There is something happening in our community that the outside world has begun to notice. Today, I am going to show you what it is. My name is Rebecca Yoder. I was born and raised among the plain people in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And for 65 years, I have cared for the folks in my community through the foods we preserve, the remedies we prepare, and the habits carried down from my grandmother and her mother before her. I share these things because staying well in our tradition begins in the belly. My grandmother said it plainly, when the gut is settled, the whole body follows. What the old ones knew about feeding the inside and letting that quiet strength spread outward is what this whole conversation is about. My mother lived past 83. Her mother past 87. 5 generations of women in this community have followed the same daily patterns, the same fermented foods, the same early sleep, the same plain meals from the garden. Researchers have come to Lancaster County with their notebooks. They study our women. They leave quietly, surprised by what they find. There is one practice that will catch most of you off guard. 9 out of 10 of the folks who first come to me have it the wrong way around, and correcting that one thing changes how all the rest of what I share lands in the body. Each piece builds on the one before it. Stay to the end. The most important habit comes last. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Leave a comment below and tell me your age. And tell me this, have you noticed changes in your digestion or your energy over the past 5 years? I read every single comment on this channel, and what you share shapes what I bring here. In this conversation, I am going to show you the fermented food our women eat before anything else in the morning, and why it sets the body's foundation before the first real meal can do its work. The pot that sits on the back of our stove through the whole week, and the one step of making it that most people leave out. The evening habit that protects the bones while the rest of the body rests. And the master habit, the one I save for last. One small thing before we begin. If you have not subscribed yet, would you do me the kindness and take a moment to do that now? It costs you nothing, and it helps this reach more older folks who need it. That is why I come here. Walk through a farm neighborhood in Lancaster County on any morning, and you will see women in their 50s and 60s moving without strain. Their backs stay straight. They carry grandchildren without wincing. The belly heaviness that so many English women carry by their 6th decade is rare among our folks. The gray exhaustion by mid-morning is simply not something most of us experience. To the researchers who have come to study us, it is worth writing down. To us, it is how life looks when you live the way we have always lived. Our women have known for generations that the body you carry at 60 is shaped by what comes out of your kitchen every single day. What you ferment, what you simmer long and slow, what you grow and put up yourself shapes what shows on the outside. The plain life is the medicine. Early rising, work in the open air, meals from the root cellar and the canning shelf, bread that has had time to sour slowly, soup from the whole bones of the week's chicken. These patterns are older than any one of us. They hold. Here is something that laboratories outside our community are beginning to confirm, something our women have practiced without a name for it across many generations. After 60, the body loses a meaningful portion of the beneficial bacteria that live in the gut, research now suggests as much as a third of the strains that support immunity and calm in the body. Many folks reach for a probiotic when they hear this. A probiotic alone, though, cannot do the work without prebiotic fiber to feed it and without what the bacteria actually produce, called postbiotics, the true healing compounds made when all the right conditions are present. Think of it as a garden. The seed is the probiotic. The soil and the compost are the prebiotic. The harvest, what the body actually uses, that is the postbiotic. Without all three working together, the garden yields nothing. Our grandmothers built all three into every meal without ever knowing those words. The first thing our women eat in the morning, before any other food, is a spoonful of raw fermented vegetable. Sauerkraut from a crock in the cellar, made from our own cabbage, salted and pressed and left to work for 2 weeks in the cool. This is a living food. The lactic acid bacteria it carries reach the lining of the belly before anything else has come through to crowd them out. A neighbor who reached out to me, Gloria, 67 years old, a retired librarian from Chattanooga, Tennessee, had been dealing with a belly that bloated after nearly every meal. She had tried enzyme supplements, had cut out wheat, had increased her water. Nothing much shifted. She began keeping a crock of raw sauerkraut after we spoke, eating a generous spoonful before breakfast each morning. Within 6 weeks, she wrote back to say the daily bloating had reduced by roughly 40%. "Rebecca," she told me, "I feel like my belly has finally stopped arguing with me. Use the raw kind, the kind that has never been heated. The heat of cooking takes the living part away." I want to pause here and speak to something many of you ask about. You want to know if you can bring the probiotic, the prebiotic, and the postbiotic together in one place, especially when you do not keep a crock in the cellar. What I have come to recommend is called BoochBod. It is a gummy, not a pill, which matters for those who do not do well with capsules. Over 30,000 people are using it now. It holds 2 clinically studied strains, lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, alongside prebiotic fiber, postbiotics, kombucha, dandelion root, and slippery elm, 2 plants our folks in the Pennsylvania hills have relied on for generations. The link is in the description below. And please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement. The second practice is bone broth. Our women keep a pot simmering from the bones of a whole chicken, going low and slow for a full day, sometimes through the night. The collagen that comes out of bone in a long, unhurried simmer supports the lining of the belly and eases the joints at the same time. In our kitchen, this is not a special occasion. It is Tuesday and Thursday, and most days in between. The third habit is early sleep. Our women are in bed when the sun goes down, or close to it. The body's deepest repair happens in the first hours of sleep in ways it simply cannot manage when we push past our natural hour. What our women have always understood, and what researchers are now confirming, is that cortisol, the body's alert signal, rises when we fight sleep late into the night and quietly drives inflammation through the body past 60. The old ones knew this without needing a paper to say so. A body that could not rest was a body quietly spending itself. If you are on any medication that affects sleep or heart rhythm, please speak with your physician before adjusting your evening routine. But shifting your bedtime 30 minutes earlier costs almost nothing. And now we come to what I saved for last. The habit my grandmother called the oldest medicine. Living sourdough bread made from a starter that has been alive and fed every morning for years. A loaf made from a living starter is a different food from what sits in a plastic bag at the grocery store labeled sourdough, where the fermentation was rushed or left out and the bread is flavored to taste the part. In a true living starter, wild yeasts and bacteria ferment the grain slowly and transform it before it ever meets the oven. The phytic acid in wheat, which keeps the body from pulling the minerals stored in the grain, breaks down during the long, slow ferment. The bread that comes from a properly tended starter delivers calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus in forms that an aging gut can actually take in and use. For women past 50, as the bones begin to thin and the intestine becomes less efficient at drawing minerals from food, this difference matters. 5 generations of women in our community have eaten this bread from a living starter and carried strong bones well into their 80s. The evidence lives in the generations. A neighbor named Frances, 69 years old, a retired school teacher from Hot Springs, Arkansas, had been told her bone density was beginning to decline. She started keeping a sourdough starter the following spring. 14 months later, her follow-up scan showed her density had held steady. Her afternoon fatigue had also dropped by roughly 50%, which she had not expected at all. "Rebecca," she wrote, "I feel steadier in my body than I have felt in 10 years. Begin with 2 tablespoons of whole wheat flour and 2 tablespoons of water in a clean jar. Feed it the same way each morning, my friend. Keep it somewhere warm. By the end of the first week, it will have come alive. By the end of the first month, it will be ready to bake with. After 65 years of watching what holds in a body and what does not, here is what I know. Tip 1. Fermented vegetables do their best work eaten before the first meal on an empty belly so the bacteria reach the intestine while there is room for them. Tip 2. Steadiness matters more than quantity. A spoonful of sauerkraut eaten every single morning does more across months than a large serving eaten when you remember. Tip 3. For bone broth, ask your butcher for the knuckle bones and the feet of the chicken. Those parts release the most collagen in a long simmer, and they are usually the cheapest bones available. Tip 4. A sourdough starter thrives on warmth and a consistent feeding time. Keep it near the stove, away from cold corners. 3 mistakes I see among folks who try these practices. Mistake 1. Many reach for the pasteurized sauerkraut sitting on the grocery shelf. The heat used to preserve it kills the bacteria along the way. Look for the refrigerated raw kind, or make your own. Mistake 2. Powdered bone broth feels convenient, but the powder lacks the gelatin and collagen that form only in a long, slow simmer. Time is the ingredient the powder cannot replace. Mistake 3. Starting a sourdough culture with commercial bread yeast gives you bread but skips the fermentation that transforms the grain. The wild culture is the whole point. I want to speak plainly to you now, my friend. What we have talked about today is not really about bread or a crock of sauerkraut or a pot on the back of the stove. It is about the mornings ahead of you. Your grandchildren know your hands. They know the smell of your kitchen. They need more years of you. It is never too late. I have watched women at 75 begin these habits and feel their mornings change within a matter of months. The body at 80 still knows how to move toward strength when you give it the right conditions. You are the one who decides what those conditions are. Let me pull this together for you. Number 1. For raw fermented vegetables eaten before the first meal, prepare the belly's living foundation before anything else arrives. Number 2. Bone broth simmered from whole bones supports the belly lining and eases the joints through collagen that only time can release. Number 3. Early sleep keeps cortisol from quietly pushing inflammation through the body while you rest. Number 4. Living sourdough bread from a wild starter delivers minerals to aging bones, informs the gut can take in and use. If what I have shared today has been of any use to you, please subscribe and share this with a sister or an old friend who might need these simple things. Leave me a comment and tell me which habit you are beginning with first. I read every single comment on this channel, and your words matter to me. The BoochBod link from earlier is in the description below whenever you are ready to take a look. Until next time, I wish you simple meals, good rest, and strong mornings ahead.